Hear candid conversations with wedding professionals as they share their stories, insights, and tips from inside the wedding industry. We'll chat about how to be authentic and that it's okay not to be perfect or run your business like someone else's Instagram. Let's dive into the privilege it is to serve our clients and discover the talented creatives that make up our community. When we share what we know and who we are, we better serve our couples as a wedding day team, as well as each other. Simply put, Be Fabbo. Now here's your host, Bobby Brinkman.
Hey, it's Wednesday, so happy Wedding Wednesday to all of us in the wedding industry and engaged couples. Thanks for joining in. Wedding Wednesdays are, it's a hashtag and searchable. It's when a lot of us come on and share tips. Wedding industry people and pros come on and share their tips on social media and websites. So it's kind of a fun hashtag to follow. But today here on the podcast, thanks for joining us. It is episode 32, and I'm thrilled to be talking to one of my favorite bands in the area and just one of my general favorite bands in the wedding industry, the Emerald Empire Band. They cover Georgia, Alabama, both Carolinas, Tennessee, and basically anywhere live music is appreciated and sought after. These group of musicians will sure to be able to entertain you there. I was really thrilled that Richard Sherrington was able to sit down and have a kind of conversation with us. You're going to enjoy his English accent and his humor. And he's just an all-around good guy, and he's very, very talented. And we dove in with some candid conversations and asked them what it's like to be a live band in the wedding industry in 2019. They are live music experts, wedding enthusiasts, and they're party starters. They offer premium, customized from 3 to 14-piece bands. They specialize in high-energy music for festivals, weddings, corporate events, and of course private functions. And they do it all for a really, really, really good price, guys. I know we don't like to always talk about budgets, but budgets are a very important part of the wedding industry, and investments with a live band are often a little bit higher. But man, let me tell you, from a wedding vendor standpoint, if you want to offer your wedding guests an amazing experience just kicked up a notch, having a live entertainment is the way to do that, and having Emerald Empire Band as that person and as that group to do that, that is the vendor you want to splurge a little bit on. And when you have some disposable money, throw it that way to get them to come. But they are all musicians, so they're owned by musicians. They're musicians running the business. They are very, very talented in their own right. Many of them went to music schools, a lot of jazz enthusiasts here, and they just really know what music's about, and they also know how to bring that to a level of adding to the wedding day experience. So make sure you sit down, maybe take a few notes if you want to, but Tina's going to have everything we talk about over in show notes, and I think you're really going to be able to find out what it's like to hire a live band and what some of the myths are about having a live band. And for any of you engaged couples that are listening in, I strongly suggest that you go to their website, emeraldempireband.com, and you can click on their showcases. As Richard explains, they limit it to an hour or so, and they rock through 18 songs to give you a choice and a little bit of a listen. But they are all over the South, and you can sign up on their website, and I'm sure you can also give them a call and go check them out live. I mean, it's one thing to listen to them here on their website and to listen to music in general, but the added element that these guys bring to the stage and the energy that they just exude is just something that you can't get unless you go see them live at a showcase. So I strongly urge that. So without further ado, everybody, thank you for joining us today, and please welcome to the interview and to the podcast, Richard Sherrington, representing the amazing Fabbo Emerald Empire Band. All right, Fabbo Podcast listeners, once again, we're back, and I'm thrilled that we have Richard Sherrington joining us today from Emerald Empire Band. Thanks for joining us today, Richard. I appreciate your time. I already did a little bit of an intro about you beforehand and talk about the band itself, but why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about who you are and your role with Emerald Empire Band and, how you got into this lovely band wedding industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for having me. Yes, my name is Richard. I am been involved with Emerald Empire since day one. We are primarily a wedding band and an events band. I'm actually, I'm a musician before I'm anything else. So I play trombone, I play keyboards, I try to play as many events as possible, but sometimes the admin side of things takes over, and I have to concentrate on that. But I'm still a musician when it comes down to it. I'm based out of Atlanta, but we kind of cover a large chunk out of the Southeast, and I would say that it's a great place to be, part of the music industry and the wedding industry. It's a good kind of region of the country for that kind of fun stuff.
Well, and we're gonna all right away talk about this accent is not a coastal Georgia accent. So how did you find your way to Atlanta with such a beautiful accent?
Just up I-75, originally from Valdosta, Georgia. No, I'm playing. I'm originally, obviously, I don't sound like I'm from around here. I'm from England originally. I've been in the Southeast for a good chunk of time. Moved over when I was moved over to the States when I was still in high school.
Right.
And it was kind of always a dream to be a musician in the States and in the US. And I'm one of the lucky ones. I made it happen. And, just kind of settled in the Southeast. It's probably the most familiar kind of feeling to where I'm from in England. Everything's, I don't know, maybe a little slower pace.
Yeah.
Family kind of values. People are real, a lot of, hardworking folk. And I think that's why I've kind of settled down here and not, in maybe the more obvious New York or LA kind of musician hubs.
Well, and it's no secret that you guys have that big city vibe, but you guys know how to bring it down to a very Southern hospitality delivered. And we'll get a little bit more into that a little bit. So how long, for our listeners, has Emerald Empire Band been serving the wedding industry?
I think it's about almost 7, it's 6 or 7 years at this point. And so, it's, it's still new. We're still kind of evolving, I feel like, but I guess it's been going on for a little bit now.
Well, and like you said, you do more than just the weddings and versus events. And so as a musician, as a small business owner, we have to wear a lot of hats anyway. So it's probably very beneficial to the band and the booking process to have somebody like you that can come out and talk and represent the band, but still kick butt, behind your instruments on a weekend. But I think it's important that you have somebody who understands the ins and outs of what an industry takes when you're the person that needs to be talking to. So I think those are dual hats, and I'm sure one benefits the other. So I'm sure the band is thrilled to have you there. Aside from, we talked about weddings, you guys also do corporate events and big events as well?
Yeah, we literally do everything. Whatever we can make work and what people are looking for. A lot of corporate events, the big kind of lavish, expo center type events from as big as that to an after party, get together for a smaller business or a networking type of event. We do fundraisers. We've done house parties. It really, we don't really try and, I guess, narrow ourselves down into one kind of niche market. We're all musicians, and a lot of people want music to go along with their event, depending, doesn't matter what type of event it is, really.
Well, and hence the word that you don't have the word wedding band in your business title. Can you tell us a little bit about why it's called Emerald Empire Band? What's the background on the name?
There isn't, honestly. We just kind of came up with a name. Originally, we were called the Savannah Kings Band, and that was not the greatest name because we immediately kind of, pigeonholed ourselves into one market, and that was not the point to begin with. So, no, obviously there's a maybe a connotation with empire and the British Empire. So I don't hate it.
Right. Exactly.
That works out just fine, but there really isn't too much of a meaning behind it.
And how typical is that for musicians? Let's just call ourselves whatever we're looking at or whatever t-shirt we have on.
Oh yeah, there's literally website generators to type in band names, and musicians sit around a table and come up with band names for projects we haven't even started.
Right.
It's part of maybe a little bit of an ongoing joke for the musician crowd.
But I think if it was always the Emerald Empire Wedding Band, you would still be pigeonholed. So, and I think one of the things that make you guys as good and unique as you are is while I, as a wedding photographer and a wedding vendor, only really see you I've seen you at a couple events I've got to work with you, but mostly on weddings. The difference is you just aren't that wedding band. You can tell that you're musicians from the start. And I think that is got to be a huge testament based on your reviews and everything that people know about you. Couples realize that you're more than a wedding band. You're actually musicians that show up and play. So I think that is great. We talked a little bit about the markets that you cover. Are you primarily East Coast now, or are you guys venturing over into Midwest and West Coast as well?
No, I mean, we really try and just, kind of make our home the region that we're in. Georgia, both the Carolinas, Tennessee, Alabama. I mean, we're not a band to say no necessarily, but one of the benefits of the way we kind of work is we want to keep the costs down for the clients. And I'm as I said earlier, I'm a musician first and foremost. I've played in bands where we get on a bus or we get on a flight and we travel to the opposite end of the country. And really the most expensive part of music and entertainment is actually the travel costs. Right. So, there's lots of great musicians all over this country. And we always recommend to kind of, try and utilize the people in your immediate area. Because then you've got more money to get a bigger band, right?
Well, and that's true. And I mean, we'll talk about the cost in a little bit later, but that segues into the local markets that we're in, Richard, are when you come to, for instance, if you come down here to Savannah, where I am, if you come down to Savannah, is it anybody local? Are you adding anybody from the local music market or event industry to come and also play? Or is it your entire band that comes from the Atlanta area that traveled down here? So do you utilize local musicians from time to time?
Yeah, absolutely. All of our musicians are mostly based in kind of the markets that you're kind of looking in. So there's a lot of musicians based in the Low Country, in Savannah, in Charleston. I'm a musician that doesn't mind getting in a car and driving, but some people prefer to kind of, occasionally sleep in their own bed, the next night, or when they get home from an event. So if we can utilize the amazing talent that play with us week in, week out in the immediate area, let's do it. Let's keep that price down for the brides and grooms. There's less likely of a travel impedance of any sort, whether it's just the delights of traveling up and down I-95 or I-75. There's less likely of any of that kind of impacting any of your event as well.
Well, and that has to be one of the struggles that you guys as band members, and especially the booking, portion of it, that has to be one of the struggles that you guys deal with being an entertainment company, is that logistics. I do think that is what drives couples away from hiring bands a lot, is because like, oh my God, I got to get 15 people from point A to point B. So in your professional musician opinion and your, admin side, is that probably the biggest struggle, is the logistics of getting to point A and point B?
No, not really. I mean, everybody's super, super professional. These aren't guys who are on their first ever gig. They understand that, this is important, not just for them as musicians and income, but this is an important day for everybody. So everybody takes it really seriously. And then we always leave, that just in case time. You have to leave it in there just in case anyway. So at this point, I would say it's not really too much of a worry. I mean, life can always happen. And that's something that we try to be, aware of and honest of. And so we have systems in place that, if there was an emergency, we're going to make it better with our system in place. We've got to support that. The life can always happen, both the positive and the negative side of things. And I think if you try to ignore that, that's when you're going to get caught out maybe. But just even having an understanding that it could happen, I think you're already ahead of the game.
All right. And then you've done this enough and you've built yourself up that you have those systems in place. And again, I think that is one of the reasons why you guys are booking so fast, and you guys are not sadly always available for every couple that wants you, because you guys take this very seriously and it's more than a weekend gig. On that tone, what's some of the value that you think live entertainment bands bring to a wedding day experience, that from the couple's perspective? So engaged couples that are looking hey, I DJ versus a band, and we're not here to bash anybody whatsoever, but I do think there is a level of experience and just a level of excitement that a live band brings. So what is it from your perspective that you feel a live band, your band, brings to a wedding?
Yeah, I mean, and like you said, there's no need to knock anybody anyway. I mean, I think DJs serve a great purpose. We even offer, both full-on DJ packages ourselves, and then we have, complimentary basic DJ service for when the band's taking a break. I'm biased.
Sure.
I'm a musician, so but there are going to be songs that are they're gonna work better with the DJ version, the recorded version. No matter how great of a band could be, there's just some stuff that's going to work better with that. But in terms of the benefits, I mean, so if you've got sorry, my friendly dog is banging into the table.
Yeah.
Got an 8-piece band. You've got 8 human beings that are performing, that are able to, really kind of take the crowd's energy, take it in and output that back out. So you've not just got one person up there that's hyping, the crowd up. You've got 8 individuals, and they're going to actually, their energy is going to be infected between the other people in the band. So it's really like whatever we get given, we're gonna take it back out and throw the energy back out, and it's just a revolving door at that point. And so that natural organic energy of how many other people are in the band just having fun is
right.
What really translates into the guests and the bride and groom and their friends and family having fun as well.
And it's that visual element too. I mean, you guys are up on a stage. There's obviously some lighting, but it's that you can, not only can you feel that energy and sometimes often feel the dance floor vibrating, but you can see the energy in your performers. And for listeners that haven't had the experience of having Emerald Empire Band, I'm going to tell you that they often jump off the stage and get right down into the crowd. And there are some singers and musicians that just brings that another element to your wedding. It's another layer of the experience that you're offering your guests, is to be at a small concert. These guys, I'm going to be honest here, candid conversation, these guys kick ass at a wedding. I mean, they are not just standing up there playing their little, keyboards. They are actively sweating as the night goes on. They don't get all the way down, but the jackets come off, some ties come undone. I mean, these guys are actually working. So, maybe you can tell our listeners a little bit about what is the makeup of Empire, the band there. What is the makeup of, we have 4 musicians, 8 musicians, we have female singers. What exactly, in a nutshell, but expand on it, is the compass and what makes up Emerald Empire Band?
Yeah, I mean, just going back to just in terms of what you were saying, and talking about how occasionally we might jump down off the stage and get involved.
Yep.
It's actually one of the big comments that we get along the way is people will listen to our recordings. They might even watch some videos of us playing. And then they come to a showcase and they always comment on how much greater it is in person. If you've got that actual sonic sound of a real band and horns playing, it just magnifies in real life. It's so much greater. And energy is obviously something that you can't necessarily record or film, or, it's really hard to take that and put it into an actual package. So anyway, sorry, getting off topic a little bit there.
No, that's exactly, but it's true. That's what I was trying to convey. It's we can all hear your music and we can hear it, but I wanted to say, especially just as a wedding vendor, the difference you guys bring to a reception versus a DJ or something else. It's that whole other element of, I can see it, I can feel it, I can hear it. And it's just a whole different experience to me. And if I was a guest, that's the experience I would want to have. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree that I think it's hard to put down in words, the difference there, but come along to a showcase, come see it for yourself, and then make an informed decision.
So now go ahead and expand a little bit on what exactly, part of the band, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. Tell our listeners a little bit about what's offered in that genre.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, we operate, I would say, from a 3 to a 14-piece band. That's kind of our go-to kind of, options. However, we do go a little bit smaller and a little bit larger when requested. The 2-3 piece options, they're going to be more your kind of laid back, maybe a brunch wedding or a low key affair. Just real kind of bare bones, acoustic maybe style stuff. Once you get into the 4 or 5 piece, you get into that typical kind of band you might see at a bar or a restaurant size. And so that's typically going to be, a rhythm section, which includes drums, bass, keys, and guitar, and a vocalist. A little bit larger from that, maybe the 6, 7, 8 piece, you're starting to add my favorite part, which is the horns, the sax, trombone, trumpet, maybe even getting in a female vocalist or a male vocalist if you've gone with the opposite sex for the first vocalist there. And that's, from there on out, it is definitely the kind of icing on the cake stuff. Once you've got to around the 7, 8, 9 piece, you've got the great elements to really have an amazing band. Full rhythm section, horns, male and female vocals. From there on out, we get to add in some of the fun stuff. So that might be a percussionist. It might be a couple of extra horns. It could be an additional guitarist, so you can have rhythm and lead guitar. And then when we start getting into the really, really big stuff, we get to add in additional background vocalists, and they can kind of sing some lead as well. And you're just really taking it to that next level. Now, I wouldn't say everybody goes with the 13 or 14 piece, but there are people who they want the whole thing. That's what they've had envisioned their entire lives, looking forward to this big day. And they just want everything. And we're more than happy to do it. And it's definitely, an incredibly versatile band when you get into that size.
And so, Richard, are you helping the couples come to you with this? Like if somebody comes to you and says, hey, I'm at this particular resort, I've got this much room, and this is my budget, then are you helping to orchestrate, hey, I think this was sound-based, especially if it's a venue you've not been at before, but are you guiding the couple into what would be the best mix for them based on their style and their personality?
Yeah, absolutely. Important questions being, what kind of music are you looking for? Do you have some favorite artists, some favorite genres of stuff? What do you not like? People come into it with we really want horns, or we have to have, a couple of vocalists. There is an important question, and it's not always the favorite one, but budget. Right. It plays a big part in terms of what band size is going to work for you with your space, your guest count, your budget. But it's a benefit in terms of us offering each individual size as well, because there are bands out there that say, okay, we're a 5 piece or we're a 10 piece. So if that's all you offer, a client could be missing out on some stuff that could really take it to that next level for them.
Right.
By not having, that additional horn to have, some nice harmonies, or by not having that additional vocalist in there. So we just wanted to offer every individual size in between, a nice wide range, and to make sure that they're getting the best bang for their buck. There is a big difference between a 5 and a 7 piece, for example.
Sure, exactly.
So if we can help out by offering those individual sizes in between, I do think it takes it to that one step higher each time.
Well, and I think you guys are honest enough too that just because your venue warrants a 10-piece band and you may have the budget for it, the acoustic wise may not sound great for a 10-piece band, or maybe a venue that doesn't work well to have, for instance, you playing your trombone and popping through the ceiling tile, maybe. So you guys offer that guidance as well. And I think that's one of the things that set you guys apart. So when it comes to the playlist and your sets, is that something after you ask these questions, you're guiding your guests on basically to get the best bang for their investment and best bang for their buck? You're helping them with their play and how your sets go?
Yeah, absolutely. And so the musical preferences kind of questions really, really help decide the band size. And it also helps us, we'll be as honest and transparent as possible. If you're looking for, a lot of the Motown and the soul, and you're only going with a 4 or 5 piece band, we'll will try and inform you that, we can do these songs. They're going to sound so much better with the horns involved. Or,
right.
There's going to be, back to the DJ comment earlier on, if you go with, a smaller band size, there might be some songs that are just going to be better played during some of the band breaks. But we love to find out people's, their favorite artists and the genres, because it helps spur us on as well.
Right.
We might, even though it might not be listed on the website that we play, some of these songs, the guys are constantly blowing my mind with, oh, well, this bride and groom said that we like Aretha Franklin, and the guys are able to pull out these songs that aren't even necessarily regularly played songs, but we get to feed off of their preferences and their styles of music that they like too. So it's a win-win there for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And you talk again, we go back to the client experience and managing their expectations. Imagine, being in a wedding reception and you hear some Aretha Franklin, and then all of a sudden you hear stuff that you knew, but you didn't think this younger generation knew, and you're a guest. You are just like elevated to, oh my God, now this band was already good, but now this band knows how to do this. I mean, that again is, I think the fact that you guys are always learning and always trying are just, again, some of the things that set you guys apart. So on that question, are you guys often playing first dance songs? Or is that, again, a one-on-one conversation with the couple? Because, again, full disclosure, everybody, I have had you guys at bands, and I've had you do it both ways, where you have played the first dance song, and then we've opted to have your DJ recording, you pressed the button and then played. What's your take on that? How do you view that? And how do you come to that realization that's been most beneficial for the client?
Yeah. The first question is always, are you planning on doing any kind of choreographed dance?
Right.
If you're doing anything that's choreographed, we highly recommend that you use the recorded version. Not everybody is a musician. Not everybody is quite as familiar of counting bars and all that kind of fun stuff. So a lot of the time, brides and grooms will go into their lessons with these dance instructors, and the dance instructors will have them listen out for a little audible cue, just so they know that, hey, we're gonna spin at this point, or whatever it is they're gonna do. Now, obviously, with our different band sizes, we aren't always able to replicate exactly how that recording is going to sound, and that could be, anything from like a Frank Sinatra song with a full big band and a string orchestra in the background, played by a 5-piece band. I mean, we play those songs, but we're not going to reproduce the exact kind of musical density as you would get on that recording. Now, then there are people who they pick a really standard song, and it's a song that every band would love to play, and they just want to kind of wing it and go for it. We're happy to play that. But when it comes to specific, maybe slightly more obscure songs, or just stuff that's not quite as regular, I just like to check with the individual musicians, the vocalists, make sure it's stuff that they feel they're going to do justice to. Because it's such an important moment. The last thing we want to do is take any of the intention away from, the bride and the groom or their parents on what could be an emotional song. And if we put our twist on it and it isn't exactly what they were looking for, or it takes away that focus from them, that's not our job for the day. Our job is to make sure that they get the focus and they're hearing the music exactly how they want to hear it. But if someone says, hey, we want to hear At Last or Stand By Me, we'll jump on it. No problem.
And that's a very good point. I mean, you're 100% right. As much as I would think that you would love to play, and how great it is to hear you guys play during a live choreographed dance, the couples that have done that, I mean, I can sit there as a photographer and I can see them counting, 1, 2. It would be highly impossible, not impossible, but it would be so much harder for them to be listening to just, somebody just add a little extra beep in there, and I can see the whole thing being thrown off. They're already nervous enough. So again, I think that's a very, your lane, and you know what you need to do and what you stay in. And again, the focus is on our clients, not about what we can do. It's not about me being a rock star photographer or you being a rock star band. It's about what our services can be and how we can enhance their day in the background. So, again, you hear me say that often in this interview, listeners, but this is one of the things that set this band and this company apart. So let's break down some myths when it comes to hiring bands for weddings. here's some of the things that as a photographer, when I say, are you having a band or a DJ? And they say to me, I can't afford a band. There's too many roadies. I got to pay for 25 people to have 6 people and then pay 25 people to break down, or all the rules and regulations. The drummer has to have green Skittles. I mean, all this really works. Or the number one thing I often hear, and then you hear this, or I'm sure you guys hear this, other vendors will go, hey, I've been busting my butt all day and the band is eating a full meal now, you know? And so it's like, are all these things added in and you present it to the people, to your customers and your brides and grooms? And are there options that they don't have to have, or is getting that meal mandatory when when the band is hired? So what's some of the myths that you run into, or that you're hearing, or that you like to say are not myths? They're actually just, that's not what happens when you hire us.
Yeah, no, I love this. I wish you could see my face right now. This is a great topic. Well, no, we are probably the easiest band when it comes to dealing with, our rider, for example. These days we are the roadies, the musicians themselves. We do the driving. We bring and set up our own equipment. We tear it all down at the end of the night. Sometimes I like to explain that, we're actually paid for driving and setting up. The playing part is actually for free. Right. We're not charging you for playing. It's all the other stuff that we're having to charge you for. These are full-time musicians. They've almost all of them are highly college educated, professional musicians. Many have families, and so we try to give the musicians as much respect as they deserve as well, when it comes to that kind of stuff. But it is a long day for these guys. We might not be the first people to arrive necessarily, but we're usually, for an in-town event, we're arriving around, or we're leaving our house just after lunchtime. And most of the time we're not getting home until after midnight. And not that any of the jobs are easy, but we are expelling a lot of energy up on stage for a good chunk of time as well. And so
the South, people, we are in the South. Let me just tell you how hot it can be in the middle of July in an air-conditioned resort. Let me tell you, is not cooling.
No, some of these outdoor events, it's exhausting, and it's a fun exhaustion. It is my workout a lot of the time as well. But we're not necessarily able to leave and go grab a meal either. And we've got our equipment there, or we have to keep an eye on the weather, or there's formalities that we need to be there for. But I do want to bring something up. Can we get serious for a minute?
Exactly.
Can we talk about a very serious myth? Have you ever heard of the band witch? Is that anything that has come across? Do photographers have a band witch term when it comes to some of the vendor meals?
Yes, we do.
Do you call it a band witch, or is it something else?
We actually call it the Token Turkey Club.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about this for a minute. I think this is something we can be honest with each other.
Exactly.
I love sandwiches. I absolutely love sandwiches. I go to restaurants and order sandwiches. It's not that bands or photographers or anybody are knocking sandwiches, but these band witches, or these token turkey clubs, or whatever you called it, there's a problem. It's the proportions. They're not getting the proportions right. There's too much bread. Somehow it's always cold. And I don't know how you managed to make a sandwich.
It's 75 layers of saran wrap, and you spend 20 minutes of your break getting the damn saran wrap off the sandwich.
Yeah, it's like the Fire Festival sandwiches. Did you ever see that?
Yeah.
But honestly, we're not really that picky.
Nope.
You know as well as I do, we're working with some of the most amazing caterers.
Yep.
I guarantee they could crush some sandwiches. If they wanted to go all out and make the most amazing sandwiches, they could do it.
And when you talk to them about it, because I bring this conversation up quite a bit, I'm one of the few photographers who don't have in my contract a meal. And honest to God, Richard, half the reason I don't have it in there is because I'm part of the freaking Turkey Club sandwich. I don't want to deal with it. I'm not going to eat it. It makes me ill. I just, you know what? Save your money.
Right.
Nothing else. And most of my clients are like, Bobby, We want to make sure you have a meal. And I think the catering company knows why they would love to give us the, lobster and steak. I don't have time to eat that. And then if it's cold or bad, but I think there needs to be a level of understanding to the engaged couples that none of us are asking anything different than when you're out working 8 hours a day, except you're able to go out and have lunch at your legalized what's the word?
Mandated, like union breaks and stuff.
Yeah. Where we aren't doing that. And you attested to it, the fact that you guys are showing up 5 to 6 hours, if not more, for your event, then changing clothes. And I know some of these bands I've got to have a shower, before I go on. And so hotels got to provide this or whatever. So I think vendors in general think, oh my God, it's just too hard to have a band. But you're not asking anything different than what they would be doing if this was their job as well. And then, so you're setting up and you're doing all this. You're going to have to eat and you're going to have to drink because, you guys burn off so much energy. I don't care. Even if it's wintertime, you burn off the energy and you're there to pick it all up. So how often do you guys have in your, when you sell to these couples, that is there a rule for spending the night? If it's so many hours away, do you have to be there the night before or the night after?
No, I mean, a lot of our guys, they want to make it, I love sleeping in my bed. I've done the road life. A lot of us do the less than graceful road life when we're pursuing, the original music dreams, where we end up sleeping on sofas. So a lot of us just end up driving home.
Stopping to the Waffle House and actually getting a meal after our turkey.
Yeah. No, I mean, and I'm only, I guess I'm kind of joking about the bandwiches, but I'm kind of not because really I've got to have my musicians' backs, and that's something that we do really want to take care of. But we do have to think about safety as well for guys, for people driving late. Some of these events end at 12, 12:30. We've had events that end at 1. People asking for extra time. If they're not getting home till 4 or 5, it's a safety issue at that point.
Exactly.
And so usually 2.5, 3 hours, depending on when it ends, we would ask for accommodations for the guys. Typically, we'll have the same sex bunking up in 2 different 2 beds per room, so we can keep the costs down. But it is a safety thing. And if the musicians choose to make the drive home because they've got a church gig or whatever in the morning, we support them and respect them. We just hope that they're safe.
Well, and I think you're a lot like me too. I think the couples that hire us generally make sure we're fed and generally make sure, hey, by the way, please don't leave overnight. We want to take care of you. I mean, there is some common courtesy that is shown in the wedding industry. And I know I joke too about the vendor meals. We all do. But I also think that these caterers are making a grave mistake by not feeding us some better food so we can talk about how great their food is. It's like you have somebody who eats wedding food every single Saturday. Please tell me that as opposed to me when I drive, certain songs come on the radio, I have to turn it down if it's not a wedding weekend because I hear that every weekend,
Right.
So that's the thing. So I mean, but I do think that that's something that there is a cost associated with having a live band, but it is a cost that is well worth it for the experience that you're going to get. And I think anytime, engaged couples always say, or dads say to me all the time, well, if you add the word wedding to it, and then down here in the South, being on St. Simon's where I live, well, if you add the word wedding and island, I just know you've added $2 for me to have a photographer. And I often say the same thing. Oh, my photography is free. It's my cost of living here and getting here. That's what you're paying for.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same. I say the same thing you do. So once you guys get set up and get ready to go, how often are you guys providing music for the ceremony? Do you guys often sometimes sing at the ceremony at certain spots? Is it just really anything custom that you can do for the couple?
Yeah, I mean, so most most people initially look at us as a reception band, and then they do some browsing and they start to figure out, oh, we need music for the ceremony, and we need music for a cocktail hour, and we do have some options for both of those portions as well. And some people like just having one contact just for music instead of 3 separate contacts and contracts for music. For the ceremony, we have, a lot of people like to just go with 1 or 2 of the guys from the reception band because of how cheap we can offer that. They're going to be there playing anyway.
I mean, right?
Sorry, one more time.
You're already there, so take advantage of the guitarist or the pianist already being here. And heck, that guy doesn't have to set up. No, I'm kidding.
Right. Well, and it's just highly discounted at that rate. You don't have to pay again for two people traveling in from just to come play a portion. If you're already paying that person to travel in, we can reduce the price for the actual ceremony music itself. We do have some more kind of I'm an audio guy. We have people that are visual people, and sometimes the look of the strings, string quartets, string duos. That's really important to people.
Right.
And so we do have options for string musicians to come play. I mean, these guys are amazing, and they're a lot of the musicians are playing with the symphony orchestras and stuff. So they do demand, maybe additional money because they're coming in just to play the ceremony, and they're of such a high caliber.
Right.
So it just costs a little extra than if you're already using guys from the reception band itself. Now, a lot of our musicians are actually, highly, as I said earlier, just gone to some of the greatest music schools in America, and so for the background of most of these guys is we went to jazz school, and so a lot of these guys are some of the top jazz players in the Southeast, if not the US, and so we do have a pretty common jazz trio option. Similar to maybe what you would see at a club in New York or something like that. And it's funny because it's super affordable, but it's also some of the most amazing playing you will see for people would go out to a club and pay and drop all this crazy money to see these guys play. And they're just playing in a cocktail hour while people are mingling and grabbing drinks and stuff. But the guys get to let out all their, everything they've been working on that prior week. In their practice, they get to let it out in that cocktail hour too. So it's great.
And that kind of brings up to another point is there any time, or is this something that you consider? Do couples say, hey, if you guys have some original music, go ahead and play that as well?
Yeah. Most of our musicians, they didn't get in the business just to necessarily play weddings.
Right.
Let's be transparent here. It's a great way to make some money. It's a great way to kind of perfect your craft and get to to network and meet other folks from all over the country playing this type of music. But we all had a dream, and most of it wasn't necessarily playing just weddings. And so these are the same guys that they're out on the road playing in a band for a major artist, maybe as part of the backing band. And then a lot of the musicians are chasing a really tough but important dream of playing original music. And so occasionally we get people who want to hear some of that. And it's great because so many original projects have been born out of playing with musicians in the Emerald Empire. We meet each other in playing on these types of events originally, and we connect with people on a musical level, and people start writing music and creating original projects as well. So it's really great when you get music lovers that just want to hear original music, and people do their thing as well. And so it's a fun little process.
I think it shows, and also it keeps it fresh. And so it doesn't look like you guys are, oh my God, I'm at a wedding again. Because sometimes there's some of you guys coming from a wedding that you were playing at on Friday night. So let's for instance, and I think it's happened to me once, you guys were playing a wedding on a Friday in Savannah, and I think I had almost the same crew down here with me on St. Simon's. So does that happen often where you guys could be out for 2 nights? You're just close enough. Yeah. But that's only an hour drive back and forth. So,
it happens. We get a fair few Friday, Saturday, Sunday events. There's occasionally the corporate event in the middle of the week as well, and we do the showcases. I mean, it's not for the it's not an easy life, getting in the car and it's not glamorous and definitely exhausting. But at the end of the day, as we're playing music, we get into play music with each other. We get into hopefully see people have the best night of their lives, people up and dancing. It's rewarding, but it's definitely it's a bit of a slog, I would say.
Well, and I think that's a big myth in the wedding industry at all. I mean, I think people think all of us as wedding vendors only work 1 day a week. We only work Saturdays. We don't do anything else. We eat these great meals every night. I get to hear great bands. I'm in these luxurious hotels, and it was really fun to drive 2 and 3 hours to get to these events. I see the countryside. And I think that's a myth that we have such glamorous 1 day jobs, where all of us, this is our career. I mean, for 90% of us in this industry, we don't have this is our full-time job. This is our career. And it's the 1 day a week for me on a Saturday that I actually don't have to wear that marketing admin hat, but it's on because I'm in a room full of 200 people that are potential clients, just like you. I mean, you're playing an event where people go, oh my God, I love them. I want them for my wedding. It's the same for me. How I'm acting that day, everything that I do that day, before they see photos, they remember how professional I was. And then they walk up to me and say, hey, I watched you all day. I think it's great. So-and-so's getting married, or my daughter's getting married. Can I have a card? Without even seeing any photos. But it's the day that I get to be a photographer, that I'm not answering the phone or I'm not answering emails. I get to do what I love to do. So the myth in the wedding industry is that we all have these 1 day glamorous gigs. So, then there's all the myths with you and the band. You talked about the showcases. So how are engaged couples finding you? First of all, are they searching the wedding wire? Where are they coming into you at? And then tell us a little bit about what involves on these showcases. I know when you go to your website, listeners, when you go to the Empire, I do that wrong all the time. Emerald Empire Band. Don't do that when you're drinking. That's just really hard. The Emerald Empire Band. You should have thought about that when you named it, right?
Right.
Go to their website. You're going to see a whole thing that talks about the showcases. So, Richard, if you could elaborate how couples are finding you, aside from your website, and then what's the process of these showcases and how they benefit the couple?
Yeah, I would say it's pretty similar, maybe for the majority of vendors of how they're discovering us. There's obviously the Wedding Wire, the Knot, all of these, wedding type websites where people discover us. Obviously, Google plays a big part, and even these days, the Facebooks, the Instagrams.
Right.
I would say some of the most important, though, are our just word of mouth from whether people and couples who have seen us at events, and then people like yourself, vendors that have multiple first-hand experience of seeing these vendors, seeing the band in action. There's nothing better than word of mouth as far as I'm concerned. We are lucky that we get to work, and maybe that's one of the benefits of the South is we get to work with a lot of the same vendors frequently. Right. We cherish those relationships. I mean, we're talking about vendors that we're friends with. We're excited to see these events. We see them outside of Saturday nights, which is beautiful. Right. But then after that, the next biggest thing is just getting people to see the band live, and so the showcases are so helpful when it comes to that. A lot of people come into it with maybe an idea. We want a band. We're just not sure what type of music we like, or we're not sure of what size band we need. The showcase is it's going to be the most helpful way to see what's possible for your event, to see some of the different styles of music, to see some of the different band sizes, to see what does a trombone look like. Not everybody went to music school. We understand that. And most people have never hired a band before. They have no idea how this works. And so we want to be there to kind of give them a little bit of a run through of what's possible, albeit a short run through. But it's a really good way to see, a band in action and to see the energy that you could, have at your event.
And I think that's the key, is to see the energy. Because I can click on and hear you play a song. I mean, I can look at one of the videos and kind of get a feel, but that also goes down to, well, how well is my speaker that I'm listening to? What's it sound like? And I realize that these showcases, the venues have different acoustics and everything like that. It may not sound, like the outdoor event you might be, but I can actually put a face to who might be coming to my wedding. And again, It's that whole personal connection. Hey, I like the way they look. I like the way they make eye contact. I like the way they made this room feel. That's the emotional connection, and people invest with people that they feel a connection with. So that's why I think the showcases are a brilliant idea for you guys to put on. So I encourage that to all our couples if they're going to be in area or even on the fence to hire you guys.
Right. And just to kind of expand on that too is, a lot of the, these days, a lot of the events might be kind of the kids have moved, they've moved somewhere off to, wherever they're making their life these days, but they want to come back home and have their wedding back home. And so even if the couple, the bride or the groom, aren't able to make it, maybe a family member or a best friend can come by, and at least they get someone who's visibly able to see the band give their interpretation. We have people that show up to the showcases and they sit there on their phone and they FaceTime the whole show, or they video the whole thing, and that's great because they get another opportunity to see something that it's not doctored up, it's not been edited. A lot of stuff can be hidden with audio and video these days. They get to see that real, through the eye of an iPhone lens. But still, if you're getting that friend or family member to give you their opinion of what it's like in person, that's priceless too.
Exactly. Now, is lighting and some other things that you guys have, I know, like the DJ option, those are all things that you can help guide couples, hey, we bring lighting, hey, we don't bring lighting. And then when we take a break, we're going to hit the play button. Those are things that you get to work with couples on and customize their experience with you.
Yeah, I guess a good way of explaining the kind of way that we work is we try to be really a la carte. Once you've hired the reception band, you can add on additional items. The reason we do that is not everybody requires these additional items. So we'll go to a venue that already has great lighting involved. Well, There's no point charging someone for lighting if they're not going to need it from us. Same goes for cocktail music or ceremony music or whatever it is. But we do have a couple different packages when it comes to lighting. Maybe lighting so it gives the band a bit of a focus. We also have lighting which more kind of room up lighting to give your great venue a little bit of accent as well. But we definitely believe in not charging for everything. And then only needing to actually book a few of these things from the band. We want to keep this price as low as possible. It's an expensive day, and I would much prefer that they got a bigger band size than added stuff in it they don't need.
Amen. I mean, I would rather you have the people out there dancing than you guys on stage. While I love photographing you guys, it's just I would rather have you have people, dancing. Well, that brings us. I'm going to say it's from a personal experience, but I'll keep the names out. How do you guys manage the expectations of you guys are set up in one room and everything else is happening in another room, and we have to get people from that room into here, especially after breaks? Is that something you guys talk about? And sometimes you don't know that this is going to happen with the couple. I don't think the couple realizes it. I think it boils down to sometimes wedding planning logistics. But you guys meet and have a conversation about the band once you get to the event, you go, hey, this might flow this way or better. So those are things that you guys work as a team when you get to the location to try to make sure the event flows smoothly. And then you work with the rest of us vendors to really make the event work smoothly.
Yeah. So, I mean, we definitely want to communicate as much as possible in the planning process to get an understanding of the different the different fun things that we might have to take into account for each event. Now, like you said, that might be a venue that has a couple different rooms, or people are going to be maybe cocktailing in one area and have to move in to a reception ballroom later on. We definitely want to try and communicate and get an idea of that prior to the event. So we'll have usually a couple of phone calls to kind of go over the details. We have a really cool online planning page system where brides and grooms and parents and coordinators and venue managers can all input details of the timeline and where things are happening. But then we always want to get in touch with the venue managers and the coordinators to try and find out these types of little things. Ideally, there aren't any surprises when we arrive on the day of the event. Sometimes they happen. Weather can impact things, and we have to kind of switch up because of weather. We try to be as flexible as possible, but some of those items, they can be resolved with a great coordinator that's on the same team and is ready to kind of assist in ushering people inside while we start playing some music, which is a great way of getting people moving into the correct room. People, we humans have the sheep kind of effect where we all kind of just start herding in one direction when we're told to. So, occasionally there might be a couple of stragglers behind, but that's when we have a great coordinating or planner team that can help kind of round some of those guys up too.
Those are the guys that want to hang by the bar anyway. They're not interested in dancing. They're interested in meeting somebody to go ask to dance. Exactly.
They are the exact people at the end of the night when we have made the sparkler send-off announcement 15 times, still finishing their drink. But, that's a compliment. They want to stay and keep partying as far as I'm concerned.
Exactly.
That's a good thing.
So what are some of the things that you would like engaged couples to know about hiring Emerald Empire Band, a live entertainment experience? What are some of the things that you wish couples knew or that you would like to educate them on making the process easier?
I would say, obviously the showcases is huge.
Yep.
The ability for the customization, which also, is a big part of their budget and the pricing kind of conversation. Because there is such flexibility on the options that hopefully means that we have an option for everybody. I just kind of mentioned it, but communication is really important for us and for what we're doing here. Let's talk about some of my experiences with other bands really quickly. I have been a band member with, tons of bands, all sorts of different bands, wedding bands, party bands, original bands, touring bands, this, that, the other. One of the big things that musicians are left out of the loop on is everything. We find out everything at the very last minute. And if you're finding out things at the last minute, you can't possibly be prepared and informed to make, to really put on the best show. So we decided to change that totally up from the get-go. We're a band ran by musicians, effectively for musicians, and we're also we're the troops on the ground. So we're not sitting in an office and talking to brides and grooms Monday through Friday, and then Saturday comes and we're out with our families and having fun. We go out and we're out on the ground playing these events. So we really know how these types of events go. And so if we're more informed, we're better able to communicate, well, have you thought about this? And are you have you got any kind of, special moments that we should be aware of? And then from there, we're able to inform all of the musicians exactly what, the couples or the family's expectations are. And so I think that's really a big part and musicians, as I said, we're not typically the most informed. And occasionally musicians are not the most detail orientated type of people. And so we want to change the perception of that. And so, you can give me a call or you can text me or whenever you like, and I'll get back to you, ideally within 24 hours. It's a lot of money that people are spending, so they deserve the time and the response that they need to feel comfortable.
Well, I think if they would just ask the question, this is what I'm doing, what do you recommend? I mean, if they would, I think all of us in the industry, if couples would say what they want instead of giving us these vague, well, I think I might be doing this, what's your opinion? If they would just come on and say, this is where I am, I would like to be outside or should I be inside? This is the month I'm getting married at, what do you recommend? Cut to the chase of it and let us do what we do every weekend. What is it that you wish, and I kind of know the answer to this one, I think I would add to it, but what do you wish other fellow wedding pros knew about working with you? What is it that we can do to make your jobs easier that allow you to make our jobs easier?
These are the good ones now.
Well, I say that because I think we have to be flexible. For instance, I know I've had to walk up to you guys and get to the guy on the side. It might have been you one time where I said, hey, I just let you know, you're coming back on break and we're supposed to be doing this. The dad is feeling ill right now. We need to wait 30 minutes. So then you have to bring a set in. So
yeah, no, and it, you know, that's a great point. It's absolutely a team effort.
Right.
You know, we feed off each other. And we've definitely all got the common goal, which is making sure that the couple and the families and the friends all have like the most fun and amazing night possible. But, you know, again, communicating between the vendors, there is no point us announcing toasts or a cake cutting if the videographer's only just got his meal, or you've had to go fix a camera or whatever it is.
Exactly.
It's life can happen, and we have to be prepared for that. So a truly great coordinator or a planner will kind of make sure everybody's rounded up. And I'm not saying that their job is in any way easy, because I know hurting vendors is one thing.
Right.
But then you've got to deal with, you know, the best man that's had one too many drinks. You got to find him and find a bridesmaid and all this kind of fun stuff for a toast. That's not easy. But we all have to come together for that common goal. That, and that musicians, maybe that we aren't the most financially wealthy individuals that people maybe perceive us to be. That's what I want people to know.
Well, too, and I do think that vendors think, oh my God, you know, you have a band, so now that's going to cut into my floral budget, or that's going to cut into, you know, and I mean, I've heard that said. I've heard other vendors say to me, hey, thanks for referring me, Bobby, but because they were going with band XYZ, I want their budget now. And you know what? I believe it's a choice for what the couple wants. You know, sometimes music is far more important than $7,000 worth of, you know, bouquets that will be dead at the end of the evening. And I love my florist dearly, but let's face it, you know, I now try to get the florist, or at least the couple, to take these florals to a nursing home or something at the end of the evening. I think there's a service there that should be done, instead of just tossing these away, taking these to a hospital or a nursing home, whether the people don't need to know who you are. It's just a way to brighten up their day. Nobody's judging the flowers are alive or dead or look bad, but it's a way to brighten the next morning. And I know that, you know, in bigger metropolitan cities, some people are starting to, you know, come up with this service. And I'm a huge proponent of the service, because, you know, after you're all done playing and I'm packing up, you know, that's what's left, along with the memories for people going. So, you know, investing in florals versus a band, you know, that's, you know, sometimes just the way it goes. So as you're at the band, as you're playing on these lovely wedding events, are there some trends that you just literally wish you would see go away? Like, why do we have to do this at a wedding?
I'm trying to think.
Well, what makes it harder for you guys as a band to have to deal with one of those things?
People yelling out Freebird, maybe?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's funny. I don't think anybody even knows. Like, we actually did it the other day. Someone yelled out Freebird, and the guitarist just started playing Freebird. And I don't even think they recognized that it was Freebird. I think they've just heard people yell it for so long. Maybe I don't know. That's probably the negative trend that I see.
Or jumping on stage and becoming the head singer. Yeah.
I mean, if it's done in the, you know, we've had brides and grooms jump on stage and had the most like amazing time.
Right.
I've seriously had some of the best nights of my life where it's been like, you know, maybe it's been discussed, or it's, you know, it's clearly a musician, you know, someone who can play, or a friend of someone, and it's been amazing. But, you know, there's obviously the guy who's had maybe one too many, and I don't know if he would have been a great vocalist before he started drinking, but the
next American Idol. So by God, get up on stage.
yeah, I don't know. I'm all for it, really. I've seen some really funny things and, like, you know, memorable things for the band. I mean, that's not a bad thing. If you make your wedding memorable for the vendors in a positive way,
right?
Hey, that's you've done something right, because we've all done a lot of weddings. I do think though that something that I've noticed recently, and I'm a big fan of actually, is I don't know, maybe it's the more kind of just organic party that people are doing. People are less kind of concerned about the formalities or the specifics, and just having a party. I think they're some of my favorite types, because you're just there for the good time with your friends and your family. You're gonna dance, you're gonna sing, you're gonna have a couple drinks. It's less about we have to do this, and maybe it's easier for you. You get in real photos.
That's me. I'm all about these. Let's get rid of these toasts that take 45 minutes. While they happen when you guys are on a break, 9 times out of 10, the band's coming back and they're looking on their faces, oh my God, this guy is still talking. And I'm like, yes, he's still talking. I like it. I'm liking it that we're doing this at the cocktail hour, especially if we have an outdoor cocktail hour and there's a microphone set up and they're welcoming everybody. And then we go to the reception. I mean, I haven't thrown a bouquet in probably a couple of years, so that's kind of gone, which I thoroughly enjoy. I hate that. I don't like the things that break the momentum. I mean, I know when you go to take a break, that's when everybody's going to go to the bathroom. That's great. Right. I also didn't get a chance to stop for 5 seconds, but I'm like you. I like, hey, let's go in, let's have dinner. And then you know what? You paid for this band. Let the band do their job. Then I have much more organic photos to take. I have more candids to take. And if I'm a videographer, I've got this on record now of people actually doing something that makes sense instead of a room full of people eating and clicking of the glasses for a kiss. I mean, I want the organic things, and I'm liking, I'm a little bit different for you maybe, but I'm liking the less than 100 people or 100 and less weddings where you can invest in a band now and that's a more intimate one-on-one. I'm enjoying that very much. But I'm like you. I love when the brides and grooms get up on stage. I like once in a while to watch the bridesmaids flirt with the head guitarist, and it's hilarious. I'm sure there's a million stories. That's a whole nother podcast for what band people, for the bridesmaids in the band. That should be a title for a podcast. But no, so I'm like you. So, we've got some questions that some listeners sent in. So maybe take this last few minutes that we could fire up and ask you some questions and elaborate on. One of the questions came from Charlotte area, and it says, I have been to several of your showcases in the South Carolina area. I like a three-piece version here, but I like the singers from another showcase. Is there a way that I can combine them, or is that something I just need to talk to you about?
Yeah, definitely get in contact with your producer. A lot of our musicians are they're down to travel. Particularly if you're talking about you've gone to a Charlotte showcase and there's South Carolina showcases, or you vice versa. Right. That's not too far of a drive for a lot of our guys, and they're happy to do it. However, we also want to find out, what is it that you didn't like, or what is it you did like? So then we can find out, is it certain styles of music? Did you go to one showcase where they didn't do enough classic rock, or did you go to a showcase where, the female vocalist was more versatile or more skilled in top 40 stuff? So we can try and narrow it down to find out what's going to be the best fit for you. Because there's no such thing as a one size fits all. And unfortunately, the showcase is only being an hour long. We try to get through 18 songs in an hour, which I think should be a world record. But we can't please everybody in that hour with every, we can't necessarily play every style of music within that hour. So let us know. And we're always happy to check availability of specific individuals as well for you.
Perfect. And I want to remind my listeners that sometimes when I ask these questions, they may be vague to some listeners, but if somebody sent me a question in that I think is a legit question, I'm going to ask it. We're all about educating and helping here, not bullying or diminishing anybody's questions. So some of the questions come through, they may be very, silly to you, but somebody didn't know. So the next question is, one of those questions that might fall into that category. I'm having a 3-day wedding weekend. Is Emerald Empire Band available to be booked with the same core of people for a Friday, a Saturday, and a Sunday?
And depending on individuals' availability, because obviously, I don't know the dates, and there could already be a commitment for someone. But 3 days sounds like fun, so
Exactly.
I'm sure we'd make an exception there. So again, we'll be honest. It does depending on individuals' availability. Now, we could then ask the question, though. What are the themes are you going for?
Exactly.
Are they all the same themes? We did a 3-day birthday party a couple of years ago, and it was the most lavish, most amazing 3 days I've ever been a part of. But the first day was like kind of just more acoustic. The second day was 1920s, kind of jazz. Great Gatsby themed event, and then the third day was the full party band. And so we actually brought in slightly different individuals that were experts in those separate things.
We're seeing a lot down here where we have the 3-day being destination market, more so than Atlanta. But the destination markets down here, Charleston, Savannah, St. Simons, where I am, people come down for the weekend. So I think, we're seeing, I've had a couple, I haven't had 3 days, but I've had where bands come on Friday evening for the welcome party and then been around for the Saturday event and then nothing for Sunday. So I think that's a good question. I think that's, that must be a really, nice budget wedding. So, hire the wedding photographer for 3 days. I would love that too.
Right.
Next question came from a bride in Arkansas. Maybe this is a myth, but is there a reason why bands take more breaks per hour they play? For example, I'm really interested. I've heard the Empire Band play at a North Carolina showcase. And the information that I want to know is, can you go for less breaks and get paid more money?
Well, yeah, I guess money fixes everything most of the time anyway. But so we kind of work with you on your timeline to make sense based on you and your, schedule events. So if you've got a 4-hour timeline, well, we're going to suggest that the band takes breaks during when any of your formalities are taking place. Now, if your event's a little bit shorter, we'd be able to take some shorter breaks and give you a little bit more bang for your buck in terms of making sure we're getting you that full playtime in by playing longer sets and shorter breaks. And then obviously the reverse for the other side. So if you're a longer event, we might have to take slightly longer breaks, or maybe we don't play during dinner. But each event is again, it's a case-by-case kind of scenario. But a lot of our musicians are part of unions, and we have to respect, if it's a union based musician, that they need to take breaks within certain periods and all that kind of fun stuff. Now, there are solutions. Maybe we could hire some couple of extra musicians so they can be part of the band and they could play during the breaks. But I'm actually a bit of a believer in that people need a break from music as well. Not just the band,
right,
but your ears, yourselves, the guests' ears may need a break, because it can also get overwhelming when you're just listening to music at the same volume for 4 hours nonstop. It's a lot.
Especially like, for instance, if we're here like on St. Simons where we've got this great ocean view, people want to listen to you, but they want to go out for the view. So the minute you take your break, bam, everybody goes outside and looks at the ocean and gets a breath of fresh air. But it's also that myth. There are legitimate reasons you guys are taking a break. Hey, you need a drink of water. Hey, you do have to go to the bathroom. You're sweating. Again, that's the myth. All of us are working all day long. You people go to the bathroom on a 9 to 5 day, several times a day. And we have the extra adrenaline that helps us push through, but we also are carrying the weight of a great responsibility. So we're conscious of, if I take a break, are you going to ding me for not working? So we all take a break for the real reason, not just because we want to charge you.
Right. And there are bands that play, 3 hours nonstop, but it's not 3 hours, necessarily 3 hours of full on party music nonstop. It's, a lot of the time, and a lot of those bands cost 10 times the price that we do. But there are bands that, they say that they're going to play 3 hours nonstop, but then an hour and a half in, and they'll switch it to an acoustic version so the rest of the guys can grab a drink and go to the bathroom and then come back. Or there are bands that play with tracks, and so they're able to hide behind the tracks for a minute while everybody, individuals kind of rotate in and out.
And again, it's a totally customizable thing. Couples need to understand that that's what you're here for. If you have a question, pick up the phone and say, hey,
yeah,
this is what I'm thinking,
Absolutely. We're going to give you honest, transparent advice.
One of the other questions came from Tennessee. Is there a minimum hourly for bands at weddings?
Yeah, well, not necessarily a minimum, I would say. Most events, 4 to 5 hour receptions. It's pretty common,
Right.
Any more than that, and then it would be additional for additional time for the guys.
And that segued into the next question. My wedding reception is going to be 5 hours, but I believe the band's going to be so great. Is it an option to extend time?
Yes, absolutely. And people, sometimes you can do it prior to the event, and we can get that in the contract. And we've had events where, it's 15 minutes until the end of the evening, and people come up and they've decided they want to keep partying. That's not a problem as well. We can add additional time at the end of the night. We do, however, have to make sure there is a financial transaction,
right?
Because maybe someone had a couple too many drinks and doesn't remember the next morning that they agreed.
Exactly.
No. Well, we like playing music. It's fun. So yeah, we're down to keep playing.
I think with a good planner and with all of us doing this, the need for extended time happens rarely because we haven't fine-tuned so much. And lots of times, it's a noise ordinance or it's the venue, rules and regulations that prohibit us forever extending. So the last question we have here I actually got this 3 or 4 different times, so I'm just going to bring it to the one is, do you guys ever hire musicians?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if we didn't hire musicians, we wouldn't be where we were today. No, I mean, a lot of the musicians that play with us, they were connected one way or the other, a friend of a friend, and they came out and did an audition and all that kind of fun stuff. No, if you think you've got what it takes, have a look at what kind of stuff we're playing and shoot us a message. We'd love to see some videos of you performing and kind of see if you'd be a good fit for us, but also if we'd be a good fit for you, because it should be a mutual kind of enjoyment to be part of the Emerald Empire Band. We want people who are excited to be a part of it just as much as we want to have you involved. So let us know what you play.
Exactly. I mean, and again, it's, it may look all glamorous from sitting in the room watching, but it's a whole different thing to do it for a living. You know how that goes.
Yeah. I mean, Uncle Joey, who thought he could sing in the last set after six or 7 drinks, maybe not, but we'll give you a shot.
Yeah, exactly. And that could be a whole different, fun part. Hey, you want the guy for the break? This is what we offer. Here's our comedic break. Before we let you go, Richard, anything you want to share about Emerald Empire Band, what some of your goals are in the next year or so, or any changes or anything you're making, or just any news you like to share with the listeners?
We're constantly trying to evolve. It's an evolving market. I think kind of just following up on what you said, if you're interested in something, whether that's musically or our services, just ask. There's no problem asking if something is possible. We're going to be honest. We're going to tell you if we can or not. We never know what secret kind of a multi-instrumentalist we might have hiding in our ranks. Whether it's jazz trios or bluegrass groups or brass quintets, New Orleans style bands, flash mobs. We did a flash mob one.
Yeah, remember how popular that was? And then, boy, that faded around really fast, didn't it?
I'm glad it faded, but we did a flash mob in a ceremony, and that was one of the hardest things I've ever organized, but it went off without a hitch. It was great. But, just ask. And as long as you're prepared to maybe have not the most delightful answer all the time, we can be honest with each other. We'll tell you if we're not going to do a good job at something, for sure.
It's the best thing. Again, engage couples. If you don't know, ask. Don't make us dig and try to figure out what you're thinking, because we like to customize everything for you, because not every wedding is the same. We all show up and we walk down the aisle, we say, I do, but the rest of it, let's customize it. But we don't know unless you tell us. So remind our listeners where they can find you, all your hashtags, all your Instagram accounts, all that good stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is on pretty much everything at emeraldempire.com. Emerald, like the ruby or the jewel. Empire is in the British Empire, I guess. And then band is in the people that play music.com, all that kind of fun stuff. Support live music in general. Like I said earlier, we're not millionaires. We're not living a glamorous lifestyle. We do this to literally survive. So even if you're not hiring Emerald Empire Band, just go see some music. Go buy an album on iTunes or whatever. Go buy a T-shirt. Whatever it is, just do music, please.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, it just makes the experience. I mean, I'm just going to take weddings in general. It just adds a whole different level when you offer the experience of a live, whether, I don't care what music you play, and you guys are so talented, you play the variety, but I mean, to hear at last, I mean, if I'm going to hear at last, every wedding is a dance, let me hear it in this version, or, it's just so another element. And when I hear the stories of the parents, and as a photographer, I see that emotion, but when I watch the mom, watch her husband dance with their daughter, and I see the tear, I know that every time she hears that song, it brings back that moment, but it also brings back the moment of when they first heard that song. And most of the time, that generation is hearing it from a live perspective. And so to hear it for their daughter or their son as a live perspective, it's a whole nother element of emotion that I'm privileged and honored to capture, every weekend. So, and again, everybody, if you hear these guys at a wedding, do not be afraid to walk up and, grab one of their sweaty shirts and say, hey, give me a card. Because that's what it's about. So again, all the links Richard talked about, Tina will have in the show notes. We'll link you back to some of their showcases, back to their website, social media. And again, just like you said, support live music. And when you get this episode ready, I'm going to ask you to drop in and talk a little bit about your experience with them. That way we all grow and we keep the industry growing. So thank you, Richard, for your time. Thank you for your talent. Thanks for sharing yourself with our listeners today. Everybody go out and have a Fabbo weekend. Remember, what we do in this industry matters, and it's an honor and privilege to serve, especially with professional vendors such as the Emerald Empire Band. So I appreciate you, Richard. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk soon.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us. We hope these conversations will take you into your wedding weekend with a little more confidence, proud of what you do, and how you serve your clients. Maybe you even picked up a business tip or two. Till next time, be Fabbo.